lucky with the weather so far this weekend, Crompo?
Absolutely extraordinary, Jess. In fact, I can't recall coming here 4 successive days and never having such wonderful weather. It was a little bit cloudy yesterday and there was some showers right at the top of the day, but really gorgeous, and it's a beautiful blue sky out there at the moment. Mild conditions and a little bit more wind chill around today, and they'll notice as drivers when they get out there that the southerly that's blowing at the moment is probably more likely to affect car behaviour than in the last several days. But in particular, Thursday was just a cracker. At one point in time, it was maybe shorts and short sleeves. All right, our final practice session of the weekend, practice number 4, the WD-40 Phillip Island SuperSprint, event 4, the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, 24 cars rolling out on another gorgeous day at Phillip Island. Huge holiday destination for not only Victorians but Australians generally, and many visitors that come here from all around the world. 3.5 million visitors annually. We're not very far from the famous Penguin Parade. There are a lot of things to see and do around this island. It's a very popular place. Home to about 10,000 people. Over the summer period, that swells to about 40,000. Fantastic beaches and some great places to swim. Virgin Australia are our partners in our championship, and thanks to Virgin we'll have a look at the details surrounding this racetrack. 4.5 kilometres around here and near enough to it. 180 kilometres per hour is the average speed. Top speed 285 k's. They might lose a little bit of that today on the run down towards turn 1. Really gentle on brakes. In fact, when you look carefully at most of the cars up front, you've got a lot of brake blocking in them at the moment, so they don't need a lot of cooling. It's really gentle on suspension, although controlling the mass of the car remains critically important. But it is incredibly hard on tyres, and when you look at the layout of the circuit, it's not hard to understand why. Check out these speeds. Very slow in the middle of turn 4, but a very high average speed, and lots of load. We saw a couple of cars yesterday in trouble, tyres that were hurting, and I touched on it in the Hino hub that just how aggressive you want to play the whole geometry game influences what your rolling speed's like over the journey and the lifetime of those tyres on the car, and you've got to be very, very careful around here. In fact, as you come up to these last 2 corners at 11 and 12, these are the corners that really hurt the car down the right-hand side generally. I mean, we talk about it being the loaded side as though it does all the work and the unloaded side does nothing, and that's not entirely true either. Both sides of the car are working pretty hard around here, so tyre wear generally is a big story. 285 kilometres an hour at the bottom of the chute, 3 sectors, and this becomes something of a qualifying session because of what Jess mentioned a few moments ago, the progression, the elimination system for Aero qualifying. Top 10 drivers at the end of this are going to vault straight into the second portion of qualifying. How's that to get your heart started at the top of the day? Dunlop curb cam, turn 3, Jamie Whincup. Have they managed to tickle this thing into action more day on day? He had a smile on his face this morning in the garage, Jamie Whincup. Seen it all before. A 7-time champion. Roland explaining what the situation was in there, put his hand up and said, we just made a mistake when it came to the pit stop. But the pace is a bit of a worry, and Jamie's been more affected than Shane Van Gisbergen. Actually had quite a moment there and reset the throttle through Hayshed. The track temp will be down at the moment. The wind chill means that the temperatures feels like about 12 or 13 degrees out there. It's showing just on 17 degrees outside at the moment. So this has been a very big story, remembering that only a heartbeat ago Whincup was second in the championship, and after yesterday he plummeted down 4 spots. So he's been in free fall after Tasmania and then again here. Saturdays have not been kind to him. It wasn't so bad on Sunday at Symmons Plains, so you think he bounced back from memory to a 5th position. He's just gone to the top on a 1 minute 31.6, and that was with the mistake of Hayshed. Now McLaughlin's just jumped straight into the 30s, 30.6. Here's Jamie again on the replay. Check it out. She has a big reset in the middle of the corner there, so those tyres probably weren't up to temp or pressure, but that was not nice balance there. Anytime the tail wags on the run to Hayshed like that, you won't need coffee to get your heart started in the morning when that stuff's going on. Mark Winterbottom on screen, Irwin Racing. tricky day for him yesterday with the wheel parting company on the car. It's time to say a very good morning to Rihanna.
Yeah, good morning, Crompo. Yeah, it was a dark day for Mark Winterbottom. I just caught up with Charlie Schwerkold. He just wanted to confirm that they are not running the same clips that maybe tripped up Red Bull Holden Racing team yesterday. Their issues with the wheels were a wheel nut issue. So hopefully they've got on top of that for Mark Winterbottom today.
Thank you, Rihanna, together with Andrew Jones, Greg Murphy, parading up and down the pit lane, dragging the information out of teams and drivers for us again this weekend. Now, thanks to you. Todd Hazelwood, who's had a great weekend so far, just off the road in the ibet.com.au Holden Commodore. This is a Triple H built car. He's done what many have done before, and he's gone wide down there at turn 2 and scrambled back on. Just a shout out to our colleague and friend Mark Larkham this weekend as well. So Mark's not with us this weekend for family reasons. We wish him all the best and we look forward to having him back in the squadron very shortly when we go to our next very special event in Western Australia. Here's the replay of what happened to Todd, and I'll pick it. He will have locked a brake, there it is, on cue, without even seeing the replay in advance. And then as soon as you lock a brake down there, because you're right on the teetering edge of grip at the best of times, as soon as you lock the brake, you wander wide down there. Mark Skaife is back into the commentary box. And one of the things about this place is with the high speed in the middle of all these corners, a tiny little mistake can have pretty serious consequences around here, and it certainly gets your attention, doesn't it?
Certainly does. Neil, good morning. And it almost come from how sideways he was off turn 1. So you predicted the wheel lock, but he was trying to gather himself up after a big slide at turn 1, and then he made the entry into the corner a little bit too tight because he was too far to the left. So you've got too much turning to do whilst you're braking, and that caused the inside front wheel to lock, and off the road he went. These guys have been very, very good through the course of the weekend. What about that start yesterday for Fabian and Scott? They arrived down at turn 1, right alongside each other, and that was as close as you'd ever see two teammates without making contact. Andy?
Very good morning, Neil and Mark. I'm just following the story of Cam Waters yesterday, a big incident with Shane Van Gisbergen. Tim Edwards said that they replaced all the items that they could see were structurally damaged, like the bottom arm, where it had been torn out from the pickup point. But for a sanity check, they did the outboard upright, they did the drive shaft to the transaxle, and anything that could possibly have been damaged as the thing was dragged back into the pit lane.
Thanks for the update there, and Cam's coming back into the pit lane. Weird circumstances yesterday on the exit of Siberia when he and Shane Van Gisbergen were in a vigorous race. Shane got away with it. Didn't do anything wrong. He just happened to sneak off the edge of the road ever so slightly, and when he came back on, they interlocked wheels, did huge damage to the back of Cam's car. He was pretty frustrated by that. What a wonderful day yesterday for Andre Heimgartner, Plus Fitness Nissan, a podium. Beautiful job. Wasn't quite his career best qualifying. Qualified 4th on the second row of the grid yesterday in Armour All qualifying. He previously had a 3rd a few years ago up at the Queensland Raceway. But he raced very, very well. In fact, he looked really strong towards the end, so tyre preservation was strong on this car. And second year in a row that Nissan have been able to put together a campaign that yields a podium here, so congratulations to Andre. Mark Skaife loved the fact that it was an all-Kiwi podium.
You're baiting me. Well, I tell you what, I love that as much as you loved interviewing Roland this morning, right? I'll take the Kiwi podium.
So because we live in a democracy, folks, I wasn't present when I was volunteered to go and do the Roland Dane interview. Oh, really? Great.
It is Game of Thrones weekend. It was dangerous.
He was fine, actually. He was good.
He did. He handled it well.
Yeah, he was pretty cool about it this morning. And he's seen it all before as well. Last weekend, he was at Sepang with his GT program. And he's had a busy year ahead of him with all of the things that they're doing. They had a successful run up there. And I'm sure that they'll find a way to rebuild themselves in the current situation that they face. Just goes to show how knife-edge it is. Jack LeBrock just struggling to get back on there at the moment. Truck assist, Holden Commodore. New livery this weekend also for Nick Percat, car number 8, the 711 car. It was a Dunlop car last weekend, beautifully presented. Shades of the Tony Kanaan Indy car from a few years ago. Now, they had a pretty evil car yesterday. Didn't look comfortable at all. We jumped on board several times and took some shots of it that made us leap back in the commentary box, let alone what it was like steering it. So hopefully they've been able to examine what the detail is overnight and make that car settle a little bit.
Nick decided to try to get onto the straight flat. You saw where it ended up.
Well, it was actually more than once too, wasn't it? One of those adventures, which was a little bit Leyland Brothers, went on for 300 or 400 metres down the straight before he eventually was able to climb back on. And there were women and children jumping out everywhere out of the way on that one. Here we go. This is what happened to Jack LeBrock before in the Truck Assist Techno Auto Sports car. So gravel trap doing its job out there. Very easily done. Always simple to do that one. A little lock break down there. It's one of those corners that, as Mark said before, through turn one, if you've got any instability and then you try and just overreach slightly into two, it bites very quickly. It's a narrow approach line down there. Super slow-mo shows all the junk that gets thrown from the car after that enjoyable ride out through, as Greg Murphy would describe it, the shingle. It's the motorsport department just watching all of the data, so I think that's a slightly greying here of Frank Adamson.
Don't say that.
He's not, Frank.
Leave him alone.
My mechanic when I was at Brock's, so we spent lots of quality time together, Francois and my good self. It's not, I mean, not as though I've got jet black locks either. So
how did you just boutique him up into Francois? How did he get Francois from Frank?
That's what I call him.
Right.
I've been calling him that for 30 years.
Do you say au revoir when you leave him, or what do you do?
Puck for me. So that was the motorsport department. Campbell Little was down there. They look at all the data, the scales in there as well. They're checking the legality of the cars. Pretty sure that was the back of Frank's head down there. Whincup goes back out again. Where's he sitting at the moment, MS? Looking down the order, he's in sixth. He's the second fastest Holden behind his teammate Shane Van Gisbergen. So he's done a 31.55. Shane's done a 31.48. So very tiny margin. 7/100ths of a second between the teammates. And we've got four Mustangs at the top at the moment. McLaughlin, Coulthard, Waters and Davison. Scotty Pye's been having a pretty buoyant weekend as well. He's sitting in 7th position in car number 200. Yesterday he clicked off his 200th supercar race. Andrew.
While everybody makes their way out of the pit lane, I thought we'd have a quick talk about balance and car balance. We've heard heaps about it already this morning. It's made up of two items. Basically, we've got mechanical balance, made up of some tangible items like springs, dampers, anti-roll bars. Those things there we see coming in and out of cars all the time. It's also made up of aero balance. Now, aero balance is a lot more complicated. It's made up of a centre point of pressure, which we've got a line down the middle of Jamie Whincup's car here. How we get to this centre point of aero pressure is the amount of load that's on the front splitter and the amount of load that's on the rear wing here when that's all maximised. This gets really complicated when we combine mechanical grip with aero grip, and we've maxed out how much aero we have. What the teams then have available to them is the ability to shift this aero pressure point, which is a virtual point in the car. Really hard to track where that is. And this little graphic is equally as sensitive as it is for the engineers to adjust it on the race car. But you can see the front coming down, the rear going up. And what that does is when we shift the point forward, it gives a bit of front grip to the car. And if we shift that point back, it gives a bit of rear grip to the car. Now this here, trying to get that right is like trying to find a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Nice work. Thanks for that, Andrew. I was just having a little giggle with Mark Scaife. If the centre of pressure was in the middle of the bonnet where you had it there for a moment ago, I reckon that would result in a pretty interesting run through turn one. I'd pay money to go down there and watch them get through that part of the racetrack if it was that far forward.
What about this guy's record? This place, 7 poles in a row, most in history.
You said a couple of times this weekend, and we've been, these are the conversations that we have. It's about racing cars when we're not working as well as when we are working, but there is a McLaughlin factor in his performances, isn't there? And when you look at the micro splits of the lap, even relative to Fabian, who's no slouch in his own right, there's some impressive speed that Scott McLaughlin's carrying in a whole range of spots around here. So 30.6 is the best number that we've seen so far. Remember that he got into the 29s yesterday. We also think, based on best guess estimate and a bit of espionage, that he's got a pretty good tyre bank as well. Dick Johnson was on the left, Ryan Story was on the right. Lee Holdsworth on screen here as well in the Botlow entry. They had some balance trauma with that car yesterday. Let's get to Greg, who owes me money, by the way.
Yeah, I did offer and you did ask, so well done on that one, Grompo. Someone who also had some issues yesterday was the car of 22, James Courtney. Had that blowout, the tyre failed down into turn one. Matt Nielsen, just have you got to the bottom of why that happened?
Yeah, I mean, obviously go through all the usual things, camber settings, tyre pressures, even brake blanking and the temperature of the tyre and that kind of stuff. It was a bit of an odd one, really, because obviously happened exactly the same time as Slady. Almost uncanny, so you know, you don't rule out the fact that they could have run over something on the circuit. There was clearly a lot of debris out there yesterday with going on through the race. So look, you just got to go through the process. You review everything, obviously the same car and the settings it had, didn't have any problems itself. You strip tyres off and inspect them. So you just go through that analysis overnight and start again today. But yeah, clearly disappointed with what happened, but we'll go again.
You're satisfied that you've got that under control as someone actually ventures off at one of the Penske's off at turn 2 down there, Fabian Coulthard. Are you confident that you've got that sorted?
Yeah, you go through the process and we start again today with either new settings or just some adjustments if required, but you know, today's another day.
And have you guys got tyres in hand for Scott Pye, or is he a little bit down on numbers there?
Probably a little bit down on numbers for qualifying, so this session is probably really important for Scott to get through to Q2 straight away and we'll be fine. But again, you just deal with it. We had a good car yesterday. You try and maximise on the day. Good to be the quickest holding in qualifying. So we'll go again today and give it our best shot with him.
What about JC? I mean, it's a bit of a miserable day yesterday for him overall, including qualifying.
Yeah, I mean, qualifying, you know, he did the same time as Scott did in qualifying in practice 3. So we think it's in the car. We just didn't quite get it right at the time when you got to get it right. So again, we're going to have a good solid practice session today. Try and get through to Q2.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Matt Nilsson, nicknamed Teco, with Greg Murphy there. So while all that was going on, Fabian Coulthard wandered wide down at turn 2. Jamie Whincup's coming back into the pit lane. McLaughlin's on top from Waters and Coulthard. Rick Kelly jumped up as well now into 4th position, confirming the speed from yesterday. Here's the replay of what happened to Fabian. This will be a little lock break in here and wanders wide. It looks and feels narrow down there because it is. Because as soon as you do lock, you're just out in the grey stuff there, and it's like the grip gets instantly turned off like a light switch.
It is. It looks narrow, and your explanation is 100%, because when you're sideways from the first corner, and that's actually what caused it again. You saw the oversteer through turn 1, big slide there. Cam Waters down the hill into turn 9 at MG. But when you get a little bit wide, you've got those little bits of correction being applied, then all of a sudden you're just slightly too far to the left, and then he couldn't get it stopped. And as you said, it really narrows off. And it almost has a single lane line for the first apex at turn 2. Check this out. Beautiful car control, Cam.
And he was on target for a very good lap. At that point, the cumulative between his two sectors was potentially going to make him the fastest. Didn't quite happen, though. There's many a sentence in motor racing that starts with if.
Yes, it does. What about this one? I spoke to Simona this morning, and she was saying she tried to make the car like Rick Kelly's, and they had a little bit of a damper issue with that car and had too much oversteer through the course of yesterday's race. So she was complaining that as an overall balance, that she needed to take some oversteer out of it, look after the rear tyre a little bit better. She made a funny comment to me. She said, "It seems like I've forgotten how to drive over the last 2 weekends," which clearly isn't the case.
Richie Stanaway on screen, car number 33. Pretty strong run for him yesterday. Came home a season best performance so far in 14th, but he was on target to do better than that last weekend in Tasmania before that pit stop. Remember, he had a very strong qualifying there. He was 7th on the Sunday in quali. He ended up coming home 19th. So they've been making some improvements at the Boost Mobile Gary Rogers Motorsport Show.
He's being engineered by Richard Holway, who's one of the most experienced and clever engineers in pit lane. Richie Stanaway now up to 11th, up 9 spots.
And splits the Red Bulls. So he split Van Gisbergen and Whincup on that lap. So there's quite a chunk of the field are back in the pit lane at the moment. We've got just under 12 minutes remaining in this session, and we'll start to migrate our thoughts towards those that are likely to progress. So we'll start to look more carefully at the top 10 very shortly.
Yeah, so remember that at the end of this session, if you're in the top 10, you go through to Q2, so you get a free kick for the Armour All qualifying format. Just a really quick one. Murph made the point yesterday. He actually did a really good segment on the dramas we saw in pit lane from Tasmania. But overall, the pit stops were fantastic yesterday. I hardly saw a mistake other than the obvious one that we saw with Jamie Whincup, which we've detailed. But overall, the pit stops were really good, Murph.
Yeah, they were really good, but just wanted to just briefly go over the situation yesterday for DJR Team Penske and the fact that both their cars got championship points taken off them and also fines for the issue with the line lock that's automatically put in place to stop the wheels from turning. And both those cars got a penalty. We didn't see the wheels turn, we saw that. That didn't happen, but it was all around the parameters set in their ECU. Both the cars came in and came up off the ground, but both of them went into a stall situation with the engine. So both dropped below 500 RPM, which is set around their parameters that they have. And what that did is reset everything. So there was a minor glitch then when everything was reset because of that engine drop that saw the spike in the telemetry back to Supercars that shows them the line lock situation working. So it was nothing to do with the drivers. It was purely a parameter setting. So as I said, they both went into a near stall situation, Scafey, when they jumped up off the ground. And that's what required those penalties be put in place. So no issues there, really.
Thanks, Murph.
And just to clarify, teams points, no harm to the drivers in that instance. So a bit of money and a few points nicked from both 888 Race Engineering and from Shell V-Power Racing. Let's stay with McLaughlin here. That thing looks pretty lively in the rear at the moment.
Pretty oversteery, isn't it?
Let's go for a ride.
Pit this lap, come for time, pit this lap. Yeah, go for the push.
He just said it's got
Pit
push.
this lap.
I didn't see anywhere he had understeer. Actually, in the middle of turn 2 he did. A little bit Siberia also, but certainly I wouldn't have reported understeer.
It sat up very high in the middle of turn 2, didn't it? So I really enjoyed watching that then. It was interesting because his first sector on that lap was better than his previous lap. Looked like it settled down a little bit more on that lap, but he was slower in the mid-sector and then they pitted him because I think he was half on to press on with it and see whether or not it would improve. He's still the fastest at 1 minute 30.5. He's got nearly 0.3 of a second over Anton De Pasquale, who's been having a pretty strong run as we go back to Shane van Gisbergen. Shane's sitting in 12th at the moment. Now we're 7 minutes or near enough to it from the checkered flag here. And so our thoughts will start turning to those that get some decent quality tyres on and go and have a crack here to try and stay in that top 10 and then therefore progress immediately into the second portion of Armour All qualifying. Order at the moment, McLaughlin, De Pasquale, Waters, Coulthard, Davison, Kelly, Courtney, Heimgartner, Reynolds and Holdsworth. On screen, the Penrite Racing entry. Quite a few people have just done personal bests.
31.4 is the time that you've got to beat to get into the 10. So Holdsworth is now that one right on the cusp, and people are putting tyres on, as in the green tyre or a fresher tyre, to optimise their performance at the end here. So this is the Clayton's qualifying end of practice 4.
When we were watching Scott's lap, we were both intrigued by the effect of wind. So there were a couple of things that were noticeable through the last corner. there's definitely an impact on the balance of the car. And what was evident was how far he was able to drive beyond yesterday's braking reference to get into turn one. It was almost a little bit open wheelish down there, a bit sports sedan, something of a higher caliber in terms of speed, because he went way past what was yesterday's braking reference and actually started to turn into the corner before he eventually leapt onto the middle pedal.
Totally. That would be 30 metres different from yesterday. Wing change here on the back of Wingcup's car. It looked like it's going up, is that right? Did you see that? I think it was going up.
50% chance to get that right. Pretty good odds.
He's caught it out at the final corner. And as you said, the biggest indication, so when you're watching today, folks, the art of coming onto the straight here is trying not to come right out of the throttle, keep the rolling speed up. But when we were on board with Scott, he actually had to back right off, drop the weight onto the nose of the car. So as the weight is transferred to the front, then the car steers back in to make the apex, and he come right out of the throttle as Winterbottom comes up 14 spots into 6th. So let me just keep you up to speed on what that top 10 looks like, because Heimgartner now is the one that's on the bubble. He's done a 31.22. Did a superb job yesterday. And a 31.22. So David Reynolds is behind him. He's in 11th. Holdsworth now is back down to 12th. Van Gisbergen is 13th.
James Courtney was really wide there at turn 4 that time. That was the location where a few years ago, remember, he had that awful shunt down there with Alex Premer and hurt himself. Back to Callum 12th, Fabian Coulthard sitting 3rd at the moment. So you have to say that probably the top 4 or 5 cars, they're going to be pretty safe. I'm not sure that I'd rush into burning tyres at the moment. But everybody after about 5 or 6 is going to have to keep on begging for their supper. 4 minutes and 12 seconds remaining in this session, so it's going to get pretty energised. Van Gisbergen and Whincup are still down the order. They're 13th and 14th, and we just saw wing angle changes going on inside the Red Bull garage. The other reason why they try and steady the car through that final corner is just from an aero perspective and the air gap between the front wing and the road and the general underbody of the car and the effect that the diffuser has on it as well, which is under the rear of the car. They don't want a big change in the pitch angle of the car. It's even more important with cars that have got full-blown racing car type floors like a Formula 1 car, an Indy car, what have you. You don't want to make a big pitch change. You want the floor to keep on working for you. And in this case, talking about the front wing, but they just tend to breeze gently out of the throttle and stay back on it again as quickly as you can rather than big off and big on. That's a bad thing in this final corner, Greg.
Yeah, just looking at Shane Van Gisbergen here, guys, there's been a lot of work going on down here. I think I've seen 3 different sets of dampers go in this car during the session. There was a bit of confusion here just late in the piece. New tyres going on now, but they're in a rush now to get this done because it was a little bit uncertain on what they were going to do. And also Scott McLaughlin about to roll out on a green set of tyres. Didn't look like he was going to do that for quite a lot of this session, but they have decided to do it now.
Interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know whether I'd use a set of tyres for McLaughlin now. He's on a 30.5. You'd reckon it'd be in there reasonably easy.
It's a rehearsal.
Yeah.
But he's got tyres in hand at the moment from what we understand. But a little bit surprising given that he's on a 30.5. But it might be just to assess the conditions of the day and have a true reading so that when they get ready for Armour qualifying, they know what they're dealing with. Because I suspect with this breeze and a little bit of direct sunlight, it might be slower.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly right. So Winterbottom, I reckon he's the only one in terms of time as Courtney comes up. Now, James Golding, great job. 30.6 for Golding. He goes up to 2nd, up 18 positions. Courtney did a good job. He's up to 5th. I was just about to say that Winterbottom on a 30.8. He was 6th a second ago, and I thought that time was about the time that would get you through. He's now dropped to 8. So it may even be better than that. A 30.7 probably will get you into the 10.
Kelly's sitting in 10th at the moment, just a fraction in front of his teammate Andre Heimgartner. Courtney's on a very good lap here as we pick up Tim Slade. Tim's down in 21st at the moment, but he's got a couple of green boxes to his name, so this should move him up. But Courtney looking as though he could get at or near the top in this sequence. Now, there's a heap of people with better quality tyres on, so it's going to get very frantic here in the last minute and a half of this session. Slade moved up into 10th. He's right on the edge at the moment. He's got a 31.01. David Reynolds is on screen here in car number 9. He's currently sitting in 13th position, coming up to the final corner in the Penrite Racing entry. Now, Courtney so far, adding the two first sectors together, is on target to do the fastest lap. Might even be better than McLaughlin, but remember, McLaughlin's gone out on a brand new set of tyres. Reynolds up 5 spots. He's inside the 10. Heimgartner's up 6 spots. He's inside the 10. Courtney's about to complete his lap. It's all going on. Davison's moved up 5 spots. He's now in 6th. Mostert is on an extremely quick lap as well. Courtney punches his lap together for 5th.
Slightly slower. Tyre got hurt at the end of that lap. As we watch Percat. Whincup now is the one on the bubble. He's 10th and Reynolds 11th. So have a look at those guys right on the edge there. Percat now comes up and puts Whincup out of the 10. Percat goes up to 8th in car 8.
Mostert's on a very good lap, fastest first sector of anybody out there. Those that own the individual sectors, Mostert quick in 1, McLaughlin quick in 2, Coulthard quickest in 3. Todd Hazelwood comes out of the final corner to complete his lap. You can see a few white caps on the water down there at the moment, so there's a much stronger southerly blowing.
Hazelwood up in front of Whincup. Hazelwood's come up to 8th.
Now closed.
Jamie Whincup is 12th.
Waters is on a very good lap, so his mid-sector is impressive as Mostert comes out of the final corner. He's currently sitting in 3rd position. He's got personal best to his name in the 1st and 2nd sectors. He's on a 30.6. Make that a 30.2 for position number 1.
Nice job.
Now keep an eye out also on McLaughlin, who's done the best mid-sector. Waters to the top now, also on a 30.2. McLaughlin's gone faster in the mid-sector than anybody else, and he's about to negotiate the final corner. You'll see car 17 appear on the scene in just a moment. So Waters, Mostert, McLaughlin, Golding is an outstanding performance, and here's McLaughlin. What's it like in the final sector? Is it good enough to go back to P1? Yes.
Certainly
a lot of
is.
30.2s out there. So he didn't get a huge gain, though, on a brand spanking new set of tyres. So
there's the margin there in those 3 top cars. And Coulthard now goes to the top of the 30.18. So there's 4/100ths of a second across the top 4 cars. That's remarkable.
Definitely different track conditions day on day. Mark Winterbottom on screen here at the moment in 14th position. So the checkered flag has come out. McLaughlin is in 2nd from his teammate Coulthard, the fastest. Another Mustang in 3rd, and then Mostert in 4th. So it's very blue at the top end at the moment, followed by Golding, Courtney, Davison, Di Pasquale, Hazelwood and Percat. And Andre Heimgartner missing out by a tiny, tiny fraction, but he was the best of the Nissans. Rick Kelly down in 17th. Simone Di Silvestro 19th and Gary Jacobson in 24th. There's confirmation of the results for you up on screen at the moment. Practice 4 WD-40 Phillip Island Supersprint. Whincup 12th, and pretty big story there. What about Van Gisbergen? Not on the 2nd page either, so have a look. There he is, top of the 3rd page in 21st position, and Todd Hazelwood, Anton Di Pasquale, James Courtney and James Golding, all of those Holdens faster than the Red Bull Holden racing team.
James Golding, you just said it doesn't mean anything, it's only practice, but this weekend it does mean something because you go straight through to Q2. Well done.
Yeah, that's right. No, it's definitely a good thing. Obviously, made a few changes from the car on the off practice 3. We could only base it off because we didn't get it running qualifying, but definitely better. Around here, you just got to get a nice, smooth lap. It's so on edge the whole corner because the corners are so long. So I was pretty happy with my lap, got it all together, and obviously makes a difference.
We had a chat after yesterday's race because you had a really strong run yesterday, made up a huge amount of spots. You said you weren't happy with qualifying, but you were happy with your race pace. Now you look like you've got a bit of pace in a 1-lap speed car.
Yeah, that's right. We changed up how we went, attacked on the green tyre, so it seemed to work a lot better. We just got to back it up in qualifying, and I'll be really looking forward to the race if we start up there.
Well done.
Cheers.
And another very challenging session for Red Bull Holden Racing Team. Shane Van Gisbergen got out of his car and disappeared straight away. Jamie Whincup is still hanging around talking to David Couchy. Mate, what did you learn? Because I know there was still a lot of changes going on there with both your cars.
Yeah, nothing more to report. We still haven't found the right car around here. We changed another 5 or 6 things and didn't really find any gold, unfortunately, but we'll go again for qualifying.
You guys generate so much information, so much stuff comes out of these cars, your information to David, and then all those changes. how do you not getting lost, or are you a little bit lost?
No, I don't think we're getting lost. No, there's something there. There's something fundamentally that's not quite right with the car. We haven't found it. You know, there's over 100 different things to try. We've probably gone through. I feel like we've gone through 50 or 60 this weekend. All the majors. We've done all the majors. We're ticking all the boxes, but we just can't find that. There'll be gold there somewhere. We just can't find it at this stage.
We saw a few wing changes, bits and pieces. The back of that car still a bit tail happy. More so.
Yeah, understeer, oversteer, but yeah, certainly where we're dumping a heap of time is not getting off the corner down the straight. So definitely the area to look at is trying to improve the rear.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cam Waters is much better to be coming and talking to you today than yesterday. Hey, that's pretty cool there to buy a ticket straight through to Q2.
Yeah, it's obviously after yesterday it was pretty bad with what happened in the race, but we tried a few things overnight and car responded quite well, which is nice. So yeah, pretty quick then. There was a little bit more in it as well, so it's always nice to be able to say that.
All race car drivers have that feeling, don't they, bud? My next question will be, race later today, what have you guys got to tune some race speed into these cars?
Well, yesterday I think I had the best of our cars, so it's just I got caught up behind Rick for most of the race, which kind of hurt our program. But in saying that, I think you just got to qualify well. If you qualify well in clean air, it kind of sets your whole race up. So we've gone for outright speed, and I think we've found a little bit of it. So just got to get the job done now in quali.
Thanks, Cam.
Cheers.
Beautiful blue skies greeted everybody when we got to Phillip Island this morning. Practice number 4, the final 30-minute hit out before Armour All qualifying to come. Much more of a southerly breeze blowing. About 16 degrees at the start of the session. Feels like about 12 or 13. Lively start. Didn't require caffeine to get Windcup's heart rate up at the start. That thing jumped sideways at the hay shed at very high speed. Jack LeBrock truck assist car off at turn 2. Quite a few people getting in strife down there. Quite a significant difference in car behaviour based on the wind direction here. Little mistake also for Fabian Coulthard down at turn 2. It's been a popular spot to make mistakes again this weekend. It's very easily done. Little lock break is all that's required to cart you wide. Ryan Story inside the garage at Shell V-Power Racing Team. Wild moment in 2 parts there for Cam Waters. First over the top of the hill, he wagged the tail to the right, and then when he got to the bottom of the hill, he wagged it to the left. Monster Energy Ford Mustang. These guys have been impressive all weekend, and in particular, McLaughlin. Yesterday adding to his victory bank, continuing the impressive run for successive pole positions. His ratio of success here relative to the number of starts really crazy. James Golding, fantastic performance, car number 34 for Boost Mobile and Gary Rogers Motorsport. Very impressive. And the best of the Holdens ended up being 5th at the end of it. So the top 10 migrates straight to the second portion of Armour All qualifying. And another excellent job by the Shell V-Power Racing Team. Coulthard and McLaughlin 1 and 2 in that session.
Todd Hazelwood, this strong run of form continues for you once again straight through to Q2. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great weekend for the team at ibet.com.au. So, yeah, stoked for the whole team. We had a great run yesterday, and unfortunately just lost a bit of time in the pits. So our best thing was to get back into Q2 today and have another crack and get back up there and see what we can do.
Very different conditions today. What were they like for you?
Yeah, massive. Yeah, the change of direction and wind in here plays a big part. So massive understeer at the last corner and trying to work out, what the throttle modulation there and trying to work out what the best line is to take, and then a little bit different at turn 2 as well. So that caught me out once and ran off there, but fortunately we did a lap when it counted. We've been really good on the 1 lap pace, which is something that we've been really working hard on this year. So it's great to be able to do that consistently 3 days in a row now and have this car at the front.
You can tell the vibe amongst this team is really strong at the moment. Enjoy qualifying and the race this afternoon.
Yeah, cheers, thank you, appreciate it.
Hey, Fabian, Coulthard, great result there on that, trying to go straight through to Q2. Very pacey again, you and your teammate, very, very close, but it seems that maybe just behind you, they've caught up a little bit, or you guys aren't pushing as hard. Which one is it?
No, I think they've definitely caught up. That's what we do. You never sit on your hands. You always try and make your car better. And, we've just showed that we've rolled our car out very good, and the others have caught up.
What about yesterday, though? I mean, the pace was into the 29s there for you guys. What the track different today? What's the situation on? I mean, we're a bit earlier, I suppose, in practice this morning than what we were yesterday.
I think it's the wind direction.
Okay.
You know as well as anyone, it plays havoc here. So, I think that's probably the contributing factor. Yesterday it was helping us, and today it's not so much.
Or did the car feel just as good?
In places, yeah, felt just as good. You know, some other areas we're struggling, but I think it's down to the wind.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers.
Fabian Coulthard, very quick in practice 4. Looking forward to seeing him come out in armour or qualifying next time you see the Virgin Australia Super.